I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, especially not with someone I trusted so completely. My name's Mark, and I thought I had everything figured out. Married to Emily for over 5 years, a good job, a nice house, the usual. We'd gone through our ups and downs, sure, but overall I believed we had something solid. Or at least I thought I did until that weekend. It all started a week ago on my birthday. I'd planned a little get-together with some friends. Nothing fancy, just a few drinks at our place. Emily was acting weird all day, distracted, anxious, snapping at me over small things. I shrugged it off, thinking maybe she was just stressed about work or whatever. But then, as the night went on, I started noticing little things that didn't add up. First, she kept disappearing into the bedroom or the bathroom for suspiciously long periods. I'd catch her on her phone, typing furiously, then quickly hiding it when I looked her way. She was dressed a bit more provocatively than usual, and I remember catching her in a quick glance that felt guilty. Honestly, I brushed it aside because I didn't want to ruin my own birthday by overthinking. But the real shocker came when I decided to check her phone late that night. I wasn't snooping, just trying to find my own damn keys that she'd been hiding. That's when I saw it, the messages. There were dozens of texts, mostly sexy emojis, smutty comments, and flirtatious talk. But what hit me like a punch in the gut was a recent message from her. Something about meeting up with someone named Ryan, saying she'd be waiting for him. That's when I realized she'd been cheating on me with my best friend Jake. I couldn't believe my eyes. I read through the messages again and again, trying to tell myself it was some sick joke, but no, it was real. She'd been lying to my face all this time, acting like the perfect wife when apparently she was just waiting for her next conquest. I felt a mix of anger, heartbreak, and pure disgust. My stomach turned. I could feel the betrayal crawling under my skin. The worst part: Jake was supposed to be my best man at the wedding. We'd been friends for over 10 years. We'd done everything together, fishing trips, late night talks, you name it. And now he was secretly banging my wife behind my back. It was unreal. I wanted to confront both of them, but I knew I needed to plan my next move carefully. I couldn't just go off the rails without thinking about what came after. Still, that night I lay awake, feeling like I'd been punched in the chest, trying to process the fact that my entire life was a lie. The next morning was one of those clear, cold mornings that hits you like a slap in the face. I woke up with a pounding headache and a sick feeling in my stomach. The worst part was knowing I couldn't unsee what I'd found. That message from Emily, her betrayal, it was all I could think about. I kept replaying that moment in my head, the way her eyes flicked nervously when I was near her phone, the way she snapped at me when I asked about her late-night disappearances. Now I saw it all for what it was: lies, deception, a betrayal I never saw coming. I decided to take a walk, clear my head. I needed to think, to plan what I was going to do, but honestly I was already decided. I couldn't stay with her after this. Not after she slept with my best friend. How could I ever look at her the same way again? Every time I thought about it, I got angry all over again. That bitchy attitude she always carried, her constant lies, I'd been so blind. I thought I knew her. Turns out I didn't know her at all. By midday I approached her. I needed answers, and I was ready for a fight if I had to be. I found her sitting on the porch sipping coffee like she didn't have a care in the world. She looked up as I approached, that fake innocent look on her face. She knew. She knew I had seen everything, and she was trying to pretend it didn't matter. "Emily," I started, voice trembling with rage. "Who the hell is Ryan, and how long has this been going on?" She looked at me, her eyes narrowing, her lips curling into that typical bitchy smirk. "Oh, please, Mark, it's nothing. You're overthinking it. Ryan's just a coworker, we were just talking. Honestly, you're so paranoid. Don't lie to me." I cut her off sharply. "I saw the messages, the ones last night. You're sleeping with him and you're lying about it." She rolled her eyes and scoffed, standing up, her hands on her hips. "Look, I don't know what you want me to say. Yeah, I made some mistakes. I was bored. You're so damn busy with work. I needed some excitement. It's not a big deal. I don't see why you're blowing this out of proportion." That's when the anger boiled over. I couldn't believe she was acting so nonchalant, like she hadn't just betrayed me in the worst way possible. I wanted to shake her, scream at her, but I forced myself to stay calm. I needed to hear her out first, then decide what to do. but inside I felt my blood boiling. How could she sit there and lie so easily? I'd never seen her like this, so cold, so bitchy, so full of shit. As she continued to deny everything, I realized I was done. I knew I couldn't stay with her, not after this. I couldn't keep pretending she was the woman I married. I'd trusted her and she'd thrown that trust in the trash. The betrayal was too deep and I knew I had to take some kind of action. But at that moment I also understood one thing. My life was about to change forever and I was going to make sure she paid for what she did. After that confrontation, I didn't sleep the rest of the night. My mind kept racing, trying to piece together everything. How she could be so damn manipulative, so good at hiding this from me. Emily always had a sharp tongue, a bitchy attitude that she threw around whenever she didn't get her way. That was her way of keeping people at arm's length, but I never thought it was just her way of hiding how rotten she really was beneath the surface. Now it all made sense. That false charm, the constant lies, the sneaking around. It was all just her game and I was the fool who got played. I knew I couldn't stay in that house anymore. Not after I'd seen the texts, not after her blatant lies. I started packing a bag, trying to stay calm but feeling like my entire world was crumbling. I never thought I'd be the husband to get cheated on, especially not by someone I loved so much. I told myself I deserved better, that I'd find a way to move on from this mess. Still, it hurt like hell to think about her with Jake, my best friend for so long. It was a betrayal that cut deeper than anything I'd ever experienced. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at the phone in my hands, trying to figure out what my next move should be. I knew I couldn't confront Jake just yet. I needed to think, to plan how I'd handle this. The fact that he disappeared without a trace after I found out, that only made everything worse. I half hoped he'd come back, apologize, or at least explain himself, but weeks had gone by and no sign of him. It was like he just vanished, like he knew he messed up and was hiding. I felt a strange mix of anger and sadness. Part of me wanted to burn everything to the ground, tear her apart with words, expose her to everyone. But another part just wanted to crawl into a hole and hide from the pain. That bitchy attitude she always threw around, her constant gaslighting. I had bought into it for years, but now I saw her for what she really was, a manipulative, deceitful woman who thought she could get away with anything. That realization made me even more angry. I had been so blind, so willing to believe her every word. I decided to keep my distance for now. No more late-night talks, no more pretending. I needed space to breathe, to think. But I knew deep down that this was only the beginning. I'd have to decide what my final move was. Stay and try to fix this or walk away for good. Either way, I was done being the naive guy she walked all over. That day, I felt like I had been broken into pieces, and I didn't know if I'd ever put myself back together. The betrayal had shaken me to my core, and I wasn't sure how to move past it. A few days passed, and the silence between Emily and me grew heavier with each passing hour. I kept to myself, trying to process everything, trying to decide if I could even forgive her or if I should just cut my losses and walk away. Honestly, part of me wanted to confront her again, to demand answers, to get her to admit everything. But every time I looked at her, that snotty, bitchy smirk she always had when she was lying or manipulating, I felt a surge of disgust. She thought she was so clever, so untouchable, but I could see through her now. One afternoon, I decided to dig a little deeper. I started poking around her social media, her emails, even her old messages. I needed proof, something concrete that would seal the deal. That's when I stumbled on something that made my blood run cold. There was a recent email from Jake, sent just a day after I confronted Emily. It was short but enough to make my stomach churn. "Sorry I disappeared, man. Things got out of hand. Can we talk?" That's it. No apology, no explanation, just a vague message. He was hiding just like her. My mind spun. Jake, my best friend, was lying low. Probably because he knew what he did, and he was scared I'd come after him. I felt a mixture of rage and betrayal, so intense I could barely breathe. How could he do this? How could my own best friend sleep with my wife? And now he's just gone silent, like he's trying to disappear. That's when I knew I had to do something. I couldn't let this slide. I needed to make them pay, both of them. I spent the next couple of days plotting. I wanted to make sure I did this right. No rash moves, no regrets. I knew Emily was a bitchy liar, but I needed her to admit she cheated to own her lies. I also wanted Jake to feel the weight of what he'd done. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was hurt, humiliated, and seething with revenge. I started laying out my plan, gathering evidence, and preparing for the day I'd finally face them both. Because I was done being the naive husband, the fool who trusted his best friend and his wife. Now I was ready to take control, even if it meant destroying what little was left of my life. Would you like me to continue? The days that followed were like walking through a fog of anger and heartbreak. I stayed in my own head, replaying every moment, every smile she gave Jake, every lie she told me, every time I ignored the signs because I didn't want to believe it. Emily's attitude never changed. She was still bitchy, still acting innocent when I confronted her. She'd deny everything, say I was paranoid, accuse me of being jealous or controlling. But I knew better now. She was a snake, and I had to handle her carefully. One evening, I decided it was time. I wanted her to know I had enough evidence to take her down. I set up a little plan to catch her in her lie, knowing she was likely planning to meet Jake again or at least continue to deceive me. I rigged my phone to record audio, hid a small camera in the living room, and made sure all her messages and emails were saved. I was determined to catch her red-handed and make sure she couldn't deny what she'd done. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was done being played. That night she came home late, smelling of alcohol, her makeup smudged, her bitchy attitude sharper than ever. She tried to act like everything was normal, but I just looked at her with cold eyes. She smirked, trying to brush past me, but I stopped her. "Emily," I said quietly but firmly, "I've got everything I need. Your lies, your texts, your emails, everything. You can keep pretending, but I know what you did. Sleeping with Jake behind my back, lying to my face, acting like you're innocent. It's over." Her face twisted into that familiar smirk, the one she used when she thought she was winning. "Oh, Mark," she said mockingly, "you're overreacting. You're just jealous. Jake's just a friend, you're imagining things. You're so paranoid, it's pathetic." I shook my head. "No, Emily, I'm done. I want you out of my house right now. I don't want to hear your lies anymore. And Jake, I know about the email. I know you've both been lying to me, and I want nothing to do with either of you." She stared at me, her eyes narrowing. "You don't have any proof," she snapped. "You're just making shit up like always. You're crazy." I took out my phone, played the recordings, showed her the evidence I'd gathered. Her face drained of color, but she still tried to play it off, to spin some bullshit about how it was all a misunderstanding. That's when I snapped. I told her she had played her last hand, that I wasn't going to be a pawn in her sick game anymore. I called her bluff, and she knew she'd been caught. That night she packed her bags and left, slamming the door behind her like she didn't care. But I knew she cared. Deep down, she was scared, caught in her own web of lies. That night I felt a mix of relief and emptiness. Part of me felt victorious, finally exposing her for what she really was. But the other part was hollow, haunted by the betrayal of my best friend and my wife. I realized how blind I'd been, how I'd trusted the wrong people. That betrayal changed me forever. I'd lost the woman I loved and the friend I thought I knew. Now I had to figure out how to move on from this mess. Would I ever trust again? Would I ever feel whole? The questions kept circling my mind, but one thing was clear. My life would never be the same after this. The days that followed were the hardest I ever experienced. There was this strange silence in the house, like the walls themselves were mourning the loss of what I thought our marriage was. I tried to go about my routine, but every little thing reminded me of her, her bitchy smirk, the way she lied so effortlessly, how she thought she could get away with it all. I'd catch myself staring at the empty space where she used to sit, feeling this suffocating mix of anger, sadness, and relief. Honestly, I don't know how I pushed through those first few weeks. I spent hours replaying everything in my head, convinced I'd never be able to trust her again. But as the days went on, a strange clarity started to settle in. I realized I'd been so naive, so blind to her true nature. The Emily I loved was just a facade. Beneath all that bitchy attitude and lying, she was selfish, manipulative, and deeply dishonest. She used me, lied to my face, and betrayed everything we ever stood for. The worst part, the betrayal by Jake, my best friend. Someone I thought I could count on, someone I'd shared every moment of my life with. And he just disappeared after I found out. No apology, no explanation, just a cowardly vanishing act. I won't lie, that hurt worse than anything else. It made me question everything about friendship, loyalty, trust. How could I have been so blind? How could I have trusted him with my life, my heart, only to find out he was sleeping with my wife? But I also started to see things more clearly. I realized I was better off without her. That this was the wake-up call I needed, an end to the lie, a chance to rebuild myself. I decided to move on, to focus on my work, my health, my future. I cut all ties with Emily and Jake, wiped the slate clean, and refused to let their actions define me. It hurt, but I knew it was necessary. Staying would have only meant more pain, more lies. Now looking back, I see this as a brutal lesson in trust and betrayal. Sometimes people you think are your closest allies are the ones to hurt you the most. I've learned that the hard way. I've become more cautious, more wary of those who wear masks of innocence, hiding their true selves behind bitchy attitudes and lies. And I've learned that revenge isn't about revenge at all. It's about reclaiming your life and dignity after being shattered. So here's what I want to tell anyone reading this: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the red flags, no matter how much you love someone. If someone shows they can't be trusted, walk away before they ruin you. Because in the end, the only person who truly matters is yourself. Take the lessons from my story, protect your heart, and never let anyone betray you twice. Life's too short to waste on liars and cheats.